Hello students, welcome to the lecture. Source data verification and source data review. Look at this picture, that is source data. It's very messy, isn't it? It's very vast and very dispersed. So do you think we can collect all this source data, stacks of documents from site 1, site 2, site 3 up to site 100 and collect those data? No, right? Because it's too much and it's too disorganized. So to get around this problem, we have something called the case report form. That is what's required in clinical trials. So a case report form highlights each of the data points required for the trial data point 3. So you transcribe that data from the source to the CRF or case report form. You pull in all the data from your labs, from your ECG, from doctor's notes, everything through the funnel of the case report form into one single format, so that you can compare that case report from site 1 to site 1 to the case report form from site 2 to site 3, and you can collate all that data in the same format and analyze it, and you can test your hypothesis like that. So that's what a case report form is. So when you're transcribing data from the source to the case report form, do you think there might be mistakes? Of course, right? Due to human error as well as systematic or machine error. Like, when you're typing into the computer transcribes it wrongly. So this nice little lady has made a mistake and she says, oh no, I made a mistake. But that's not the end of the world, right? We do make mistakes, but we can always correct it. So how do we get around this problem? We use a tool called the CRA, Clinical Research Associate or Monitor. What he does is he compares the data points in the case report form against that in the source and makes sure that both are the same. If not, he will raise a query. So that is called source data verification, comparing data from the case report form one to one with the source data and making sure it corresponds. And that's not enough, because case report form only consists of a limited set of data, but the source is vast, and what we are interested in is in the actual status of the patient. So the source might have missed data points, right, which was not captured by the CRF, or else safety information, like the subject had a heart attack yesterday. Isn't that important? We should know that information, right? But it was not captured in the case report form. You can only look for this by looking at the source data as a whole, not going point by point, as a whole. That's called source data review. So this nice little CRA, he stacked all the folders on top and looked at all the source one by one, and that did a very good source data review. That's what source data review is. So what if after verifying there is a discrepancy? What happens? Then what happens is the CRA raises a query or a question mark. But it's very important, you need to do it with a nice smile. Because if you do it with a nice smile, the coordinator will be happy to see all the hundreds and queries and digest it one by one with a smile as well, with a nice fork and a knife. So we do the test case now, just to highlight to you how those data verification is done. So on the left hand side we have the CRF. We have, so it says, were the vital signs performed? Yes. Date of assessment is 7 July 16. You can cross check it with the source on the right hand side. It is 7 July 16. And time of vital signs is 1501. It corresponds. Systolic blood pressure is 132. Systolic is 132 on the right hand side, blood pressure. Diastolic blood pressure on the left hand side, CRF, is 67. On the right hand side source, it's 77. Oh no, there's a mistake. So that is a mistake. So we don't click the STV button. So pulse rate is 72 beats per minute. That corresponds to the source, 72 beats per minute. We click the STV button. Respiratory rate is 18 breaths per minute, and that corresponds to the source. So we click the STV button. Body temperature is 36.3. It corresponds with the source, which is 36.3. We check the STV button. Height is 167 centimeters, which corresponds to the source. So we check the STV button. Weight is 62.2 kilograms, which corresponds to the source, and we check the STV button. And BMI is calculated. Weight divided by height square. So it is automatically generated in the CRF. So that is how STV is done. So for the diastolic blood pressure which didn't match, we raise a query. As per source, diastolic blood pressure is 77, but in the CRF it's 67. Please clarify and correct as needed. So we raised the query nicely. So in summary, at the end, I would like to say a case report form is the tool used to collect trial data from the myriad of source documentation. STV is to verify data in the CRF point to point with the source, right? STR is the wholesome review of the source, means like a full for missing data, like safety information, like heart attack the patient had yesterday, or quality of data, which is ALCOAC. You remember attributability, legibility, contemporaneous, and so on. We look for the quality of the source data. So that is source data review. So that brings to the end of this lecture. Hope you understand and appreciate STV and STR. In the next few lectures, we will do real hands-on experience or assignments which you will do by yourself, and I will provide my answers in the solution section, but you need to get your hands dirty. Okay, so that brings to the end of this lecture. Ciao for now.